So on a personal level, how do you deal with all this? You've taken an enormous amount of crap for the last several years. Your schedule is insanely busy. I've been talking to some of your legislators over here from your party, and you guys have a packed agenda for the next term. What does your day look like?
Well, I mean, it's busy. I mean, so we have 3 kids under 5. I got a daughter that's almost 5, son 3.5, and then a daughter that's about 1.5 years. And so that's a very fun age, but it's also very tiring. And so we do our thing in terms of with the state. When you're governor 24/7. I mean, I may not be sitting in this office. I may be doing an event somewhere. I may just be at the executive residence. But you're governor, things happen all the time, so you're always on call. But we have a big state too. So, I mean, it's not like, I just go to like one city all the time. I mean, I'm all over the place. We do it. I think that's the only way you can do it to be successful. The good thing, though, is when I was in Congress, you're in D.C. I mean, I just sleep on my couch as a member. But when we had our first child, you're there and you want to be home. And so as busy as I am in Florida, governor is more family friendly because I can visit 2-3 cities. I could still be back at home for dinner, and that makes a big, big difference. My wife, the first lady, does a great job with just everything. She's great for the state, great spouse, great mother. She's now, battling the breast cancer, which was a very difficult thing for us when the news hit, and it's been difficult. But I'll tell you, and you have good days and bad days, but I think she's fighting through it very effectively. And so you kind of throw that on top of everything else. And I would say certainly it's been a wild ride, but the last probably month and a half since the diagnosis came down, has really been surreal. But her view is I'm going to get through it. And, I'm going to come back better than ever. So I think that will happen. I'll tell you, the people that have reached out to her, from not just around Florida, but all over the country. It's been really inspiring. It's definitely boosted her spirits because I can tell you before we announced this publicly, we were in a difficult spot. She was in a difficult spot. I was very, very down for having to, have this happen to someone, my wife. But then when the outpouring came in, I mean, it really made a difference. It made a difference for all of us, but it definitely made a difference for Casey.
We're certainly all praying for Casey.
Sure.
And best wishes to her. Let's talk for a second about sort of your philosophical influences. So how did you become conservative in the first place?
It's interesting. When I was growing up, I grew up in West Central Florida in a town called Dunedin in Pinellas County, the Tampa Bay area. And, I didn't have a political philosophy per se. But then I was a baseball player. So I got recruited to play baseball various places. So I ended up going to Yale to play baseball. It was a massive culture shock. I mean, I was a blue collar kid. I'd go to, I'm a Catholic. I'd go to church every Sunday. I just instinctively loved America just because that was what you did. I go up there. The motto was for God, for country, for Yale, but yet they were actively opposed to anybody that believed in God. They hated the United States. I mean, everything was about how bad the country was. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is not something that I want to sign up for. So I think just how being exposed to leftism, kind of raw leftism, really turned me off. And then when I was in college, really was somebody that never accepted the leftism of academia. By the time I got into like Harvard Law School, I was set. And that's a liberal place, but there was nothing that they were going to be able to do to change me at that point.
Do you have any particular thinkers that you like to read or favorite books that sort of changed your
Well, I mean, I think it's just, I think you look at, just the religious tradition of Western civilization. And so, I was a kid that grew up. I mean, I went to Catholic school in elementary school. I went to public middle and high school, but continued with that. And that's just been a foundation for me. And then I think I really studied a lot of our founding fathers. I studied the influences that caused them to want to revolt and then create the Constitution. And so you look at all the things they did. I mean, they knew. I mean, obviously they knew Locke. They knew all the ancient Greeks and Romans. They knew that like the back of their hand. And so to watch them create this country, on the shoulders of kind of those influences was something that I really, really studied deeply.
Well, Governor DeSantis, it really is a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank you for welcoming me to the state and so many others. The state is fantastic, and we hope that you stick around as governor for quite a while. Governor DeSantis, really thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you.
Because the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that